Mr. Speaker, rise to share some history. Two of the greatest freedom fighters I have ever had the privilege to know were two Polish Americans, a husband and wife. The husband, who escaped capture from a Soviet work camp during World War II, lived to age 97. He also survived 3 Nazi death camps. Each of this couple's lives, each of them, lived by the motto, freedom means never surrender. A 30-minute film about their valiant lives can be viewed online at PBS or YouTube at no cost under the title, Freedom Means Never Surrender. I ask all Americans to learn something about Colonel Marian Wojciechowski and his beautiful wife, Władysława Ponienska-Wojciechowski. These great Americans were originally born in Poland after World War I. Separately, they endured horrific torture as their homeland of Poland was invaded and obliterated by Nazi Germany on the west and Stalinist Russia to the east. Their lives were changed forever. Then Poland as a nation was squeezed out of existence as 6 million of its citizens were slaughtered into submission by 2 tyrannies. No nation on earth lost a higher percentage of its citizens during World War II than did Poland. Here in America, our land of comforts and possibilities, the blessings of liberty to date have shielded us from the harsh reality of dictatorship. Most people could not possibly imagine the torture and cruelty that bore down on the lives of this particular couple. What a high privilege to be afforded the deep honor of representing such human beings of such noble bearing. I bow low to their dignity and memory and resolve, after having borne such enormous suffering, they went on to lead constructive lives and become citizens of the United States of America. By sharp contrast, recently, I watched the latest Russian dictator, Vladimir Putin, be interviewed by a very shallow American TV commentator. With a straight face, Putin presented this gullible American with a complete fabrication of what happened to the Polish city of Danzig and the entire Polish nation during World War II. The American TV anchor swallowed Putin's sadistic comment, saying Hitler offered Poland an amicable choice during World War II as to whether it should be invaded. Wow, what a lie. For any American to sit in front of that lying mass murderer and reply, okay, is not only offensive, it is dead wrong. That vapidness cuts through the hearts of Poles, Polish Americans, and people of Polish heritage across our world. What an embarrassment for any U.S. broadcaster to utter such drivel. Here are some facts. Poland lost a higher percentage of its citizens during World War II than any other nation in the world. 6 million people, 25% of its population, 3 million of Christian heritage, and 3 million of Jewish heritage at the hands of Hitler and Stalin. Try that on for size. And across Europe today lie the bodies of over 1/2 million of our fellow citizens, Americans, 500,000 soldiers who gave their lives in the last century, ushering in for our generation the longest period of peacetime ever in history between great powers. Think about that. Now this latest lying Russian dictator, unprovoked, is again threatening Poland and Greater Europe, our closest allies, with nuclear weapons. And Putin has directed, with no provocation, the invasion of the adjacent nation of Ukraine, an independent nation since 1991. throwing off centuries of repression. The people of Ukraine are fighting to be free. Putin is responsible for the loss of at least 100,000 Ukrainian lives, and God knows the abduction of how many children? 30,000? Trying to take them back to Russia and reprogram them. Think of the Ukrainian mothers and fathers. Likely 300,000 Russians have died already. So how can any U.S. broadcaster call yourself an American patriot when you become a pawn of a mass murderer? Let us turn to Putin's most recent torture and execution of an innocent man in a frigid prison above the Arctic Circle. Just a couple of weeks before Putin's re-election campaign this month, he kills a potential opponent, Alexei Navalny. Most Americans really had not heard the name Alexei Navalny, laid to rest earlier this month in Russia, his motherland. A freedom fighter with thousands and thousands of supporters. Putin could not stand Navalny's opposition to Russia's brutal dictatorship, but Navalny stood tall to pure evil with every breath of his being. Navalny's sheer heroism, sharp humor, and beautiful poetry reveals his deep, soulful cry for liberty for all of Russia's people. Alexei Navalny never flinched. He even humored his captors. Such courage. He uttered poetry to his beloved wife. He knew his fate, and he was not afraid. He walked into the sun. He stood tall despite torture 24 hours of every day. For him, too, freedom meant never surrender. He was a prophet in his own time. And like the Ukrainian poet laureate Taras Shevchenko 2 centuries ago wrote, words affirming the human quest for liberty and the worth of each person. He hearkened the birth of Ukraine as a free nation. Shevchenko knew, like Navalny, his imprisonment, punishment, and ultimate death in a grim St. Petersburg Russian prison would lay a cornerstone for liberty for generations to come. And this is that moment for the people of Ukraine. Liberty remains so frightening to Putin and to those who impose serfdom, persecution, and death on those who do not submit to ownership. It is hard to believe this savagery exists in our current era. During the past century, Europe's hallowed ground was blessed with over 500,000 American lives, so our youth would never have to meet Navalny's fate. Navalny gave his life for liberty over tyranny, just as our soldiers did across Europe in World Wars I and II. The free world we have inherited after 1946 was created from a new order of allied nations supported by NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, our defense shield. So to see a craven son of liberty give airtime to a cold despot who is killing innocents as the cameras roll is an international affront to liberty. Let us recall the prophetic words of the Ukrainian poet Shevchenko from his poem, My Friendly Epistle. He wrote, in the fields commissioned by the devil, what will sprout? You soon will see what kind of harvest there will be. Break then your chains. In your own house you will see true justice, strength, and liberty. Seek the highest good that stands, true liberty, that sacred good, in fair fraternal brotherhood. And Alexei Navalny, just before his passing, to his wife Yulia, said, you and I have everything like in the song. Again, those cities between us, airports, runway lights, blue snowstorms, and thousands of kilometers, but I feel that you are with me every second, and I love you more and more. Those were his last words to his wife, to his children, to the free world. Let us remember the cornerstones of liberty that are built through the sacrificial lives, not just of our soldiers, but by people hundreds of years ago in Russia and today's Ukraine who are giving everything, so that their people may be free. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.